So I thought it'd be nice to give you a full rundown of the saw and my experience with it over the last 17 plus years. I've had it for a very long time and it's come in handy quite a bit. And I've used it for things that it's not actually intended for, but works pretty well, surprisingly. Right now this saw is priced at $5.99 at Home Depot. Back in 2004, I think I bought it for about $3.50. This is a carbide blade versus an abrasive saw blade. It's meant to cut steel or other materials. Actually, it cuts ferrous and non-ferrous metal. This saw is a slower RPM than abrasive saws because it has to accommodate the carbide blades and cut at the right speed for the metal. But most abrasive blades can be dangerous. If they chip, then they could explode and launch shrapnel into you. So it's always a safety hazard if you're not careful what you're doing with those blades. Although they're safe in the right hands, you just have to be careful what you're doing. Thickness is a limitation for this saw. As you can see, you have gaps in between the teeth. If you have a thickness of material that's 1/16 of an inch or something like that, and could get caught in here and cause an interrupted cut, it could be a safety issue. An abrasive blade would cut right through it and have no problem at all. I will say when you use this for the correct materials, it has better cuts, no deflection, and a much better surface finish than an abrasive blade, and it doesn't leave that nasty burr on there, especially when the blade's sharp. I have the same blade on here that I bought in 2004. It's just now getting dull. It's starting to give me burrs on the wood that I cut with it. I know it's a metal chop saw, but I have used it for wood. Okay, full confession. Carbide blade has a much longer life than an abrasive cut blade, and although it's more expensive to replace, they could be around $109. I found them on this website looking in a few minutes. Although at Home Depot they're about $200, which is kind of stupid, but if you look around you can find it for a lot cheaper. Typically it has a retractable guard, and mine came with one, but I took it off because I actually used jigs in here and I need a full depth of cut on the blade in order to cut what I needed to do. I needed the reach for it in order to get there, so I've taken it off. Another benefit of this versus abrasive blades is that it has no dust. This one only shoots chips everywhere, and actually most of it goes into a collection bin in the back. I will say it catches most of it, but you do get some chips going everywhere and you have to clean up. It's not perfect. It's kind of like a miter saw. It's not perfect. You'll never have great dust collection, and you might never have great chip collection, but just clean your mess up. This can cut materials that an abrasive blade cannot, like non-ferrous materials such as aluminum, bronze, copper, all kinds of stuff like that. So it cuts steel as well, no problem. It is a little slower than an abrasive blade, but really has no deflection. It cuts a great parallel cut. It does an excellent job. The clamping system on here has the ability to cut anywhere from a 45 to a 90, so most of your projects are easily done with this versatility, but it's nothing like a miter saw has. Right here on the clamping system you have a lever that you can switch. Allows you to move very quickly for thicker material, and you can flip it over and you can actually engage the threads. But it's nice because you don't have to worry about traveling a whole lot when you're cutting in between materials. It's really nice to switch thicknesses very easily and not have to worry about that. And like I said, I've had this saw since 2004. It's still going, doing really well. I haven't used it constantly, but it is there when I need it. I've definitely used it on materials that it's not meant for. Definitely not meant for wood, but guess what? It works for wood. I've even made a jig for inside this clamping system to do crown molding. I'll show you an example of this right here. It was a set of pillars above a stair, and I had lots of intricate cuts, and I was able to get it without much gapping. And I filled it with silicone and painted, and I feel like it looks really nice in our house. And I did it with a metal chop saw. Although the saw is not intended for wood, sometimes you can get by with what you have and accomplish a task for yourself at the house. Now, if I had the choice and I had an extra $500, $600 for a good miter saw, I would definitely invest in it because this saw is not meant for it. As of right now, I don't have that kind of money to throw away on a new tool, and now it works just fine for what I need it for, and I can get other tools like a new router or something else. One of the bars in our closet, when we moved into this house, I needed to trim it and move it somewhere else, and I was able to cut it with this saw. I've used it for pretty much all of my remodeling projects for my house. Like I said before, you definitely want a miter saw if you're doing intricate work, but if you want something that can do metal and wood together and with a little improvisation, this is a really wonderful saw. I would highly recommend it. I think Makita makes a great product. I'm in no way sponsored by them, but I'm just a fan. I had a drill last 16 years before it crapped out. The only thing that really messed up on it were the batteries or the trigger, and I could probably fix it and get it to work again. But it was just easier to buy a new kit. This saw I've had since 2004. It's a wonderful saw. If you're a metal worker, woodworker, or just somebody who does a lot of things around the house and you need something versatile, I'd highly recommend it. I think you can get your projects done and you can save your money for other tools around the house. An interesting topic to consider is when to go cheap and when to go expensive. Certain tools are great when they're cheap, certain tools are horrible. Deciding whether to go to Harbor Freight or Home Depot or go online is a definite decision process you have to learn as a maker or as a woodworker or whatever you want to call yourself. As you learn to look at your tooling, you can decide what's best for you, what's more accurate, what your priorities are. And that's why I've decided to go with this saw for over the years. It's not important for me to buy anything else. It does two jobs for the price of one. I know $600 is a lot, but if you get two different saws, you can't cut anything but aluminum with a miter saw. So it's a great tool to have.